What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Impel Ford Podcast. I got my hat turned backwards, so I don't know what's going to happen on this episode.
No.
Nah, just messing with y'all. KP said, what'd you say, KP, when I turned my hat backwards?
Grand opening, grand closing.
What's going on? What's going on?
Yo.
Well, we was talking behind the scenes, and Larry, you set it off talking about Now look, man, you got to get a man some credit. Are we gonna get a man some credit?
Ooh. Careful now.
That's
Careful.
why I see. That's why you're the resident Trump supporter.
Hey, that man, he done put in an executive order for HBCUs.
To do what?
Y'all still mad at that man. What's going on?
Listen.
Let's talk.
This dude is the king of creating the issues and then trying to also bring in the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I didn't seem like, I saved everything, but you also caused the destruction and the chaos and the problems, bro.
Yeah, he's the guy that set your house on fire, run out the back door, and come through the front door, say, "How can I help you?"
Oh yeah. Steal your wallet, help you look for it. Yeah,
that's him.
Yeah.
It's his blueprint. I've seen him do this on so many things. Yeah. So what he did with the executive order?
Well, let me see. Let me look at some of these things.
I heard Larry say, "Man, this dude think he's slick."
Yeah, because he's trying to implement more of an AI pipeline for HBCUs, more funding for that, more studies, and more programs, so to speak.
Go ahead. Let me run down a couple of them.
Go ahead, bro.
Assisting HBCUs with institutional planning and development, fiscal stability.
Wait, stop right there. Y'all know what that means? That means his people get on our board and determine our curriculums.
Yeah, that's in there.
It's in there. It's in there somewhere here. Where was I at? And financial management, upgrading institutional infrastructure, including the use of technology, and providing professional development opportunities for HBCU students to help build America's workforce in technology, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, and other high growth industries.
Yep.
Now, I want to find where you just touched on, KP. Let me see. Further initiatives. But it's somewhere in here where
he designates a person.
He's going to appoint somebody,
That's my point. A stooge. It may be somebody that look like us. It might be
100%.
Another General Langley or a Scott Turner, whoever he has over HUD. It's skin folk, but ain't kin folk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you think
but here's the deal, though. That executive order is just paper. It really means nothing, right? But however, he has the power of the purse where those HBCUs use some of the federal money for their institutions. Now that he can pull, which he has done. He's instructed him to his budget, the skinny budget is what he called it, where he is defunding HBCU grants. I think to the tune, I think it was like 13 million or something like that. Now he can actually do that. So that's an actual thing that he's gonna do. But
you froze, KP.
Oh,
yeah, I know, man. My internet.
We got you. You back.
Yeah, that's must. Hearing me, I'm saying a few trigger words.
Right? Yeah. He listening.
But here we go. It says the executive order establishes the White House initiative on historically Black colleges and universities under the executive office of the president to be led by an executive director designated by the president.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, he's gonna have his hands in it.
Yeah, the executive.
He wanted his family.
Yeah, says the executive order outlines two primary missions for the initiative. One, increasing the private sector role, including the role of private foundations in strengthening and further supporting HBCUs. Two, enhancing HBCUs' capabilities to serve the country's youth adults. Specifically, the executive order calls for increasing the private sector role. So Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want the private sector role in our business. That's Remick standing outside the door trying to get wanting us to invite him in. Mm-hmm. That's what that is. You know, ain't nothing about that. Ain't nothing
so
about
this ain't good.
Hell no.
I mean, if you just looking at it at face value, it's like, oh yeah, he's doing stuff for HBCUs, and that's gonna get a lot of people, bro. It's gonna get.
It is. It's gonna further divide us because they're not gonna be educated on the merits in which he's operating.
Yeah.
So we know
it takes power away from us.
We know that he has the power of the purse. So the defunding of the HBCU, which he's done, that's happening.
Yeah.
This other stuff is just a dog and pony. This is smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
That's all this is.
And it's also probably because, you know, China came out with their stories a couple of months ago about how they're implementing into elementary school.
You froze,
Boom, man.
Yeah,
I guess. Out there.
Hey, y'all talking about that man too much. They starting to freeze the channel.
Yeah, you
know, right? Yeah. He just throwing a dog bone out.
Yeah, none of that. All that's gonna fall flat on his face because it's just executive orders are really just him signing with a crayon. Most of it is worthless. But
so why do we when he do all them other executive orders, why do we get all angry? Yeah, and react. Yeah.
Well, most of us who know didn't really react, right? So when he signed the executive order getting rid of affirmative action, when he got rid of affirmative action through government contracting, where it states that you do not have to have certain things in the government contract. We know that the 64 Civil Rights Act goes directly against that, and you'd have to get an act of Congress and all that other stuff to overturn that.
Yeah.
So it's just talk. You know what I mean? It's just talk.
It's a slap in the face, man, for him to undo a lot of civil rights stuff, but then try to give you some crumbs at the same time. Oh, exactly. Don't worry. Don't worry about us taking away this over here, but we're gonna give you something of this right here. And it's like, come on, bro. Like
playing in our face.
Yeah. You gotta be careful what the left hand doing and what the right hand doing.
But Larry, you said something very poignant, and it's gonna happen. The fact that we had some of our less educated Black folks are gonna see this executive order and be like, see, he's not racist, he's not
a bad guy.
And we're gonna have to fight this with facts. And the facts we use, they're not going to accept it. They're not going to be like, well, that don't make sense. The executive order says this, and that. And we're like, you know what? No, look at what he's doing with the power of the purse. Yeah. Look at what he put in his budget. And his budget slashes HBCU funding.
Yeah, significant.
That's really going to happen.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, that's really going to happen.
So it's man, I think
it's to give you a case in point, unless the Senate or somebody take it up, when he bragged about in his first term that he gave more money to HBCUs than any other president, right? At the time, he did, right? Of course, Biden gave more, almost quadruple the amount. But here's the T. He sent out his budget proposal, and it cut all funding from HBCUs. It wasn't until Alma Allen, she's from North Carolina. She went in that budget and she fought for him to put it back in. And I think she's a state representative, and she fought for it. Alma Adams, I think that's her name. And because his budget slashed HBCU funding, zeroed it out. She went back, fought for it, and they made them put it back in. They put it back in, voted on it, passed. Trump goes out and parades, hey, I gave the most money to HBC. No, your budget cut it. And if it wasn't for that young Black sister, it would have been zeroed out.
Yeah.
So that's why we got to be careful. But a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are y'all thoughts on non-Black going to HBCUs? Because it did mention something that in the article. I can't remember what it said, but what are y'all thoughts on that?
It's a little bit of that going on now.
It's them standing at the doorway, inviting, trying to get in, man. And you know, if this was for us, let it be for us.
Right.
We're not. I mean, I know most of us, if we had the choice, who are aware of educational institutions, much prefer to go in HBCU than a PWI.
Yeah. But they also said a few of them. I don't know how many. I ain't doing no research on this, but I do know that some were started not by us.
Oh yeah, the majority.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of them was started by Howard. Was started. You know, Spelman was started by Rockefeller, his wife. That's why it's named after his wife's maiden name, Spelman. You know, and then you got Howard was started by General Howard. Or I forget his name. They did that to say that, hey, all right, you know, let's create an institution for them since they can't get into the other one. So most of HBCUs were started founded by some of our white brothers and sisters. And now when I say brothers and sisters, I don't mean it in the sense of communal where they're part of our community. It was just, you remember, a lot of these rich people be looking for pet projects to be involved in. And at the time it was HBCUs. In the 80s, it was going to Ethiopia, feeding the home, you know, the kids, you know, how they would show us the kids, they, you know, why they would go over there and do these
feed the children.
Feed the children, man. These were pet projects that they were like, let's go help some of these Negroes, right?
Go build a school in Africa.
That we're helping.
Yeah, go and build a school over in Africa. Just random. Yeah,
just random. And so it makes them feel good.
And they get some tax breaks.
So you have some people that will argue, like, are they really black colleges?
They are.
It is, man, but it's you got to really dig into it though. Because actually it's starting to be a lot more non-black students going to these HBCUs and actually getting scholarships and getting funding. And then a lot of people look at that like, okay, are they taking away the scholarships, the opportunities that should be afforded to the black community people? If somebody's who's not black or doesn't have any heritage or lineage for that, they're going to these HBCUs. So I mean, it's it's something that again the black community needs to reevaluate.
All right.
Yeah, you got to look at his actions when it comes to the financials. A lot of those agriculture HBCUs, they reduce the Pell Grants for kids wanting to go to those A&M, like Southern A&M, Florida A&M, A&T, all those agricultures. About 3 weeks or a month ago, they cut the funding for Pell Grants for the agricultures. Those HBCUs. So that prevents a lot of poor and disenfranchised kids from actually qualifying for the Pell Grants to go to these A&M colleges. And that happened about 3 weeks ago. And so that really happened. Remember, watch what he does with the money, not what he does with the words. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Watch the money.
I just always think it's been an issue, man, as far as it's easier for them to get into what is considered our schools, but it's hell of a uphill battle for us to get into their schools because the majority of their schools are considered legacy schools when you talk about Harvard and Yale and things like that, because those are family-led private institutions. So it's a huge difference, and they get lots of money and donations over there, which was another reason why would their DEI programs get cut if they're private institutions. So it's so much behind the scenes, man.
And you got to watch it. He's a very petty man. There is a story that he's attacking Harvard because apparently they didn't accept bearing his son into the school. I don't know. I can't validate that story, but that story has been going around that because out the blue, he just started attacking Harvard. And now he's threatening to pull their what is that? Their tax. I forget what that is. I'm drawing a blank tonight, but he legally can't do that, which is their tax exempt status or something like that. I forget. Maybe somebody in the chat will correct me, but
right.
well, we're not live, but but people understand what I'm saying. He's threatening to pull that, and he's threatening to do everything unless they can conform to what he suggested.
Right.
And one of the things that he suggested with Harvard was appointing a board of someone over their board of directors, so that they will.
He was gonna appoint somebody.
Yes, at Harvard. He sent a list. They sent a list to Harvard of what they needed to do to continue to get the federal grant, and one of it was the federal funding, and one of them was they were going to appoint somebody onto their board of directors to oversee their thing. And Harvard said, no way.
Yeah. This is
so
how
that
he
was
does
in that too, and so he's doing the same thing with the HBCU.
This is how he does it, man. Like while he's in office, if he can appoint as many of his people in positions that he can, like that's how you start digging your heels in. Because if he's not here in the next 4 years, his people could still be in position.
Absolutely. And that's what the Project 2025, this all laid out in Project 2025. It's supposed to continue long after he's gone. So we're going to need 8 years of a good Democratic president to undo a lot of these things that he has done. It's going to take a good 8 years after he's done.
It's going to be a hell of a disinfectant. We're going to need a hell of a disinfectant because it's going to be crazy.
Well, I will be invested in the next one. Hey, I'm gonna be paying attention. But like y'all always say, I was on I sent y'all that Zoom. I was on that Zoom call in last night, and
what was they talking about, Mister?
Everybody always say it's constant. Your local, official.
Oh yeah, your local.
I keep hearing that. So
that's where the sausage is made, brother. That's right. That's where, if you heard that at the Zoom you was on, they probably talked upon. I'm sorry I couldn't get on it because I was caught up last night.
That's all right.
But
that's all right. I sent it to y'all late.
Yeah, it was. I guarantee you, they talked about all elections are local, and what they're saying is that the things that directly impact you is in those in those local elections. Right. Those are the things you're going to feel the most.
Yeah. Right. And they also talked about as far as the AI and saying, Trump is pushing AI real big. And they said, which I've heard a couple different times, that we or our kids or high school kids or college students, us as blacks, period, they say we need to get ahead and start. Some people are scared of AI or don't want to learn how to do it. They said that's one of the things we really need to focus on learning how to do, because that's what's coming. So yeah.
The good thing is a lot of our youngsters are already aware of it because they grew up in it.
Oh yeah.
So they're gonna gravitate towards. I'm talking about our 14 to 25-year-olds. They're already it's just another app for them. They already know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
But they're young in mind. That experience can hurt them of not knowing how to use it.
Right.
But they know how to use it.
Yeah, bro. We to be honest with you, we are far behind technology minded wise. So between China, Japan, and like India, they are crushing it, bro.
Crushing us.
Far ahead, like light years ahead about AI and technology mindset and technologically savvy. Put it that way. Like
we're way behind in technology and STEM. Yeah, we're way behind.
And another part of that is because the programs are not strong enough. Programs are weak. Like they don't cover much, and hell, they're expensive too. If you don't have a scholarship to get into something, you try to get into like a 3-month boot camp, coding boot camp for your kid or something. It's like $12,000, for like 2-3 months, or for like a couple weeks.
So Larry, what you just said, I heard a talk about that, and why we're so far behind on everything is because we're a capitalist society. Why things cost more over here and cost less in China is because over here, if you're producing a head of lettuce to bring to the market and sell, from the production to the distributor to the housing agent, everybody got to get their cut. And so the price goes up. So by the time it hits the market, a head of lettuce is $10, right? Because we're a capitalistic society. they got to get their cut. Whereas you get that same head of lettuce in China, it's $3, right? Versus here it's 10 because it's not a capitalistic society. So everything is about capitalism here.
Yeah,
that's why our schools cost so much. That's why these programs cost so much, and because everybody's got to get their cut.
Oh yeah. That was an issue. What, like 5-10 years ago, when they marked up the price of insulin like 700%. It was ridiculous, And then they had to take that company to court because, and old boy that was running the company was like, "Hey, the price is the price," but nobody should be paying like $3,000 for an insulin shot though.
For real, and he's some weird looking. His name was Shrignick or something like kind of. He was sworn, and he looked like a scummy tech dude out of Silicon Valley. He had the little hair over it. I mean, he just, and it's Peter Shkreli or something like that. Yep. And Biden, to this why elections matter, Leon. Why you vote? They shot the price up, and Biden tackled that project and capped insulin at $35 a month. Yeah. So you had a lot of disenfranchised poor people, even middle class people, paying so much money for their daily needed medicine and insulin, and Biden capped it at $35 a month. You know who undid that? Trump.
Hey, he undid the bank surcharges too, man, for overdraft.
He undid the bank surcharges.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Go on, bro.
Hey, I'm looking at something, okay, but you still looking mighty sharp from the weekend. It's a good cut. Somebody put a good cut on you, huh? Looking mighty sharp, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. I got a good barber, man. He the best today. I might talk about him tomorrow, but today he the man.
That's what's up.
Yeah. But let's move on. Let's move on. We see Trump's doing some good things for the blacks.
Hey, yo.
Get that from UKP. But yeah, let's talk about now. Y'all had some hard feelings. Well, not feeling. Well, maybe feelings. Mike can say that on the guy who been recently in the news for retaliation for his son. He ran over the deputy. That was that hearing that and just seeing that and reading a lot of that. It's terrible. Now I seen some news sites say that it was the actual deputy that killed his son, but then I kept reading different ones that didn't actually say. Maybe he just retaliated, just wanted to get one.
That's the confusion I have. That's why it's hard for me to speak on this platform. I saw the confusion. Was it the actual deputy that was responsible, or was it an adjacent deputy that's for that department?
Right.
I don't know.
Man, those are hard. Those are hard to tackle without putting yourself in a bind and being painted in the corner as immoral. But when you have an immoral action, it has to be met with an opposite immoral action. Unfortunately, you can't meet an immoral action with well, we're gonna pray for you. It don't work like that, man.
It's egregious. Yeah.
So
I feel you.
I don't know if me personally, I understand the hurt and the pain, but I don't know if I went to those drastic measures. It's
about your child.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Listen, it's like Chris Rock said. I ain't saying he should have killed him, but I understand.
Yeah.
And just like anything else, for the sake of saving thoughts and prayers to his family. Right? Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
I wish for his family what he would wish for me.
But it's like this. You lose your son. Now, say the young guy stole a car and was running, had a gun. I don't know if he pointed it. Of course, they're gonna say that he pointed at him. They said that. They say that all the time. But he was running, pointed at him, and they shot him. But it's like they shot him. The father goes and do what he did.
Yeah.
But his family member is going to also lose him. I don't know. We don't know the details of his family. The father, his family. Do he have other kids or married? His mom. They now going to lose him. So it's like two gone.
True.
That's the issue, man. That's tough.
Yeah, but sometimes you will trade that out. But the problem, what I think would happen is those patrollers, known as the police force, or they're going to wreak havoc on that community for the foreseeable future. Okay. So it's going to get worse because they are protect the blue, protect the shield, and to every one of those officers, they lost a comrade in a war. Yeah. And they have the power of the badge, and so they're going to wreak havoc on that neighborhood or that community in which this guy comes from. So
that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, so it may be more chips to fall as this thing develops. I don't know. All I know is I have a child, and had I lost my child to a situation like this, I could kind of empathize with what the father was feeling. He probably felt my life is over. Yeah. This was my child. And if I got to go and spend the rest of my years behind bars, but I know that the person who harmed my child can no longer harm another child, then to him, it's worth it.
Right. Yeah, I feel you. Because it's devastating for a parent to have to bury a child.
No parent should have to bury their child.
Right.
Especially under those circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. And this climate. It'd be one thing if had it happened another way, but this climate with the policing and things like that, and it's just going to get worse because Trump has executive orders in the policing. One of the things that he did was get rid of the database that Joe Biden put together that followed cops. The reason why Tamir Rice killer was able to go to that precinct where he killed his young brother is because in the other precincts, where he was fired or kind of let go. And one of his commanding officers said, this guy is unstable. He's going to kill somebody. And they let him go. So he go to another county, and then he ends up in this county, and he pulls up, and knowing that the 911 caller saying, the guy who's calling on the phone where you can see where he's under the gazebo calling the police on him. He said, hey, man, this kid is flashing his gun. It looks fake. He said, I know it's fake, but he's scaring the shit out of everybody. And that cop pulled up within 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
With this kid, 12-year-old kid. He saw him as a grown man. And so the database would prevent this guy from getting a job in another precinct in another county. Trump reversed that and got rid of that. The first thing that fascists want to do is get rid of information or data. And so he's gotten rid of that. And not only that, he has, I think in last week's executive order, he's authorized the military to start sending police forces more upgraded equipment.
Oh, wow.
Because apparently because you got to understand, he thinks he has the police under his control. And in the minute that some form of martial law is declared, they're going to be equipped to kind of take us out in numbers.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of watch that, because he did do that last week where he signed an executive order allowing, they were already selling military grade equipment and things
to local police departments. Yeah.
Right. Which makes him more paramilitary. And now he's exasperated even more.
I mean, even ICE got some of the same equipment now.
Yeah.
ICE is more militarized now, which is crazy.
And they're being incentivized. You saw the hearing in the hearing with Jamie Raskin and all them was saying that they trying to save money, call themselves saving money, but they want to give every ICE agent a $42,000.
Oh God, bro. Yeah.
So you imagine giving a person who is middle America a $42,000 bonus. You know how well he's going to do his job now. Yeah, he already don't like the people that he's rounding up. Just imagine you giving him a bonus that big.
Yeah,
the average bonus across the United States is about $2,500. Well, they're saying that they want to give ICE agents a $41,000 or $42,000 bonus.
Yeah, $42,000 bonus. That's wild.
So that ought to tell you everything. And then he talks about the executive order of open up Alcatraz.
I saw that. That's crazy.
Well, crazy, but he's equipping these police forces. He's equipping the military. They're getting rid of the top brass at the military. Another executive order through Pete Hegseth. Well, he didn't do it. It wasn't an executive order, but right here, fresh in the news, Pete Hegseth said that they just there's an initiative to get rid of 20% of the top brass, the older generals. You know why they want to get rid of the older generals? Because they uphold the Constitution.
Yeah, agreed.
And if he can get rid of those older generals, that's just in the news, just here tonight. If he can get rid of those, then there won't be no safeguards to tell them, hey, we shouldn't be doing this to our civilians.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Larry, in the chat, you said you think blacks are too forgiving.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that? I know why you think that, but
yeah, because a lot of stuff that's happening, man. Like we're not a violent people, you know. We don't have that mentality where I need to conquer everything. That's just not for us. You know what I mean? Like we can. Now, don't get me wrong, we can, because we just have the genetics to do it, you know. But we're not. Oh, I'm just gonna go over there and just claim that. So somewhere along the line, man, like it was instilled in us, like to be more loving, more caring, to be more forgiving, and I feel like that's bit us in the butt up until present, you know, because even now there's so many. This is a strong line that divides the black community, because there are people in the community that's like, yeah, we really, really got to stop the forgiveness, the turn the other cheek. And then there's another side of us that's like, well, I'm gonna pray for you, you know, I'm gonna do my best to forgive and forget, you know.
Go ahead and say the church. We know you don't like the church. Go ahead and say the church.
Well, it comes from it's a part of the church. From the church, but it's not 100%. You know,
it's not, but it does. You're right, Larry.
It is a source. It is a source. But the thing is that I feel like us as a whole, both sides now, are just getting to a point where a decision has to be made. You know, because we can't keep doing we can't keep doing what we've always been doing, because we're gonna keep getting what we've always been getting. And I think a good majority of the black community is exhausted of getting what we've been getting, you know. Like we know that we've been nice to people and we get the short end of the stick. And I think we're getting tired of that. You know, we're really getting tired of that. And so it's gonna come between us, like talking to the other side and being like, hey, stop that. Stop all that forgiveness. It's gonna be a lot of Malcolm X mentality and not Martin mentality, you know. But that comes a time where it always it goes back and forth between the two, you know.
We've always had our radical guys; they just never got brought to the forefront. I think I mentioned this in one of the podcasts. There's during a lot of the civil rights movement, a lot of the SNCC movements and things like that. There was a guy wrote a book, Charles E. Cobb, I think, is In Words with Guns, and it accounts of times of where they encountered these pateros or these KKK people, and they encountered them, and they had guns. And I remember Dr. Greg Carr and Nick Cannon was reviewing a book. I think this book, and one of the things that they remembered they took out of the book, they got these. I think Charlie, they was on the road and they got cornered, and these KK members thought that they were just going to roll up on them and do what they usually do.
Do what they do.
Didn't realize that out of one driver's side, he comes out with a 23 carbine on him, and another one had a handgun, another one had this. And they say what they took from it, there's in the book, he was like, one of the white guys, like, man, them Negroes got guns, you know? And so they don't account, they account for one or two of us having them, but not all of us.
Right.
I think probably across the, I don't know if I should say country or states or different states. I'm pretty sure you have different organizations that has what's like the guys. I wouldn't say the guys in Detroit, the one that I told y'all about, but they do show their weapons and they walk around, but they're more about policing the neighborhood and
And that's what they have environment.
That's what we are. We have our guns as protection and not as enforcement.
Yeah, not as intimidation. None of that. Yeah.
Our guns and protection our guns are for protection and not enforcement or hostile takeover.
Right.
What ours are from. And key to what Larry was saying was like, we are not.
Oh.
In the freezer. The bees in the freezer.
Okay, that's
go ahead.
I'm back.
You back. Go ahead.
You back.
What was you saying now?
No, I froze. Larry froze, and then you froze.
You was explaining something about something I said.
Yeah, well, you were saying. All right, Leon. I think they're all.
No, you good. You good.
Nah.
I know, but no, mine's. I see it freezes, and so you were saying that about how we're, in so many words, the black man being so very meek and eager to turn the other cheek, and the day of reckoning has come where we have no more cheeks to turn, and it's time to take up arms. And I don't mean arms as a gun, but take up arms in our spirit, and like never again, never no more. And the difference between us and them is we're not gathering all together, practice on the weekend, shooting and hostile takeover. We're not trying to take over nothing. We're not trying to militia anything. We're just trying to protect our community, protect our kids, protect our culture. Right. And basically what we're telling America is the black man is very meek. We're very forgiving, but you do not want this smoke. Unfortunately, we're very skilled at killing, although it's each other. God forbid the day we turn the gun on our oppressor.
And those are not the thoughts of the Impel Forward podcast. Let's just say that.
No, and I mean that in the most respectful, tactful way. I know we lost Larry here for a minute, but carrying on with it, I just think, piggybacking off of what Larry said, that we're not a violent people. When we come together and try to protect our own and be pro-black does not mean anti-white. None of us are hateful of white people, although throughout our conversation, we're going to call a thing a thing. And that does not mean that we're anti-white or we know that there are some good white people out there, and we know that there's been many that have helped in the struggle. And one notable white guy that I would like to mention, was we talking about arms, is John Brown. John Brown was a white guy, and he led a rebellion. Now they killed him, but he led a rebellion of a lot of us that was tired of the status quo, and he was an advocate for the black community, and he was an abolitionist, and there are countless people that are like him, that some of them may not had guns. If we think about Charles Sumner, who was in the legislation, he was legislating, and he was talking about, hey man, this slavery is wrong. Why are y'all doing this? And one of the congressmen, I think he was from Texas, beat him on the floor, and they still have the blood on that floor, from what I understand, beat him with a stick for speaking up against slavery. So we have a lot of our white brothers and sisters that have laid down their lives. I think about Cheney and Goodman, those guys that was in the that moved into Mississippi burning. The Jewish guys are 3 guys that came down to help register black people to vote. James Cheney was the black guy, but the other 2 were white guys, Swarmer and Goodman, and they were killed fighting for just to help black people in Mississippi to learn to vote.
All right.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there are some allies out there, and that if we can work with them, we should. And so I think Larry's texting us saying that he can't get on.
Let me see him. Try to send him another link. But yeah, go ahead. Let me do this real quick.
Send him another link.
While we're doing this, make sure you go to the impel4merch.com. That's impel4merch.com. All things Impel 4 merch. Renee says 135 or 10. 135 or 10.
That's the product number.
Nah, she just saying that's how many pieces you should get. 135 or 10.
Oh, interesting number.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I got to make sure the next time I see you, man, make sure you have me some of those shirts y'all had on the last podcast.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, make sure we get that because we want to represent for our community and also supporting not just a Black business but a business.
Right.
But to the point of protection, I think that we should definitely consider how we protect, and we need to think about it going forward, how we can do it effectively without being a nuisance to the country. Because once the country figure out your goodwill is a nuisance, then it will be condemned. And I think about the Not Effing Around Coalition, those brothers that got together, because they're going to come for you. Because remember, they came for that brother who started the Not Effing Around Coalition. And he ended up, the problem with our leaders is we end up having one leader. And once you cut the head of the snake, you cut the movement and that is making. And so you have not heard anything about the Not Messing Around Coalition.
Now, when was this?
About 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they formed, they would show up to different places. I know they were in Louisiana a few times, and I forget the dear brother name. His name escapes me at the moment. And eventually the federal government kind of came down on him over some, I don't know if it was weapons charges, whatever. So when we do decide to protect our culture, our community, and our children, we have to be diligent in knowing that we're doing it the right way, in the clean way, because they will come for us. Unlike the other alt-right communities or the KKK and all that, we know that they're safe because our law enforcement find comfort with those departments. It's illustrated in Ohio that happened about a month ago when the KKK showed up, and you saw video of the police being very nice to them, very encouraging to them, because they, again, the police department was born out of slave patrols, and it has never lost its identity. And there's a reason why we have our law enforcement that can see these KKK clearly trying to scare the Black community in this community, and they kind of aid and abet it. And because they find commonality. They find commonality when you have a guy in Dylan Roof who can sit in a church for an hour under prayer, under Bible study, sit under these people for not about an hour, and then murder them all. Right. And then the police get there and find commonality with this kid and takes him to get him something to eat.
Yeah, man, that was crazy.
Well, again, they finding a kinship to these actors, and those are the things that we try to preach to America, that we're experiencing, and they're telling us, nah, it's not all cops, it's not all police. But if it's not all cops, why we keep running into the bad ones? If it's such a small percentage, right?
Yeah. But even with this incident of this young kid getting killed by the cops, he did steal a car. I don't know if he had a gun. They said, I don't know if I believe that he had a gun or pointed it or whatnot.
Oh, that's always the case.
Yeah. So it's like, do we put ourselves in certain positions at times as far as the young kids?
That's a good argument. Now? That's a good argument, Leon. I think we don't do ourselves any justice by putting ourselves in positions where you and I can't. So you and I want to find commonality with the father. We want to find commonality with this kid. But when they put us in a position where they say, which I don't believe, because we know the media, had a gun, whether he had a gun or not, he did steal a car. Now, did that warrant a death Did that warrant a death sentence? I don't know.
Right.
You know, Grand Theft Auto should not warrant a death sentence on the spot. No police should be the judge, jury, and executioner. But unfortunately, when it's us, that's what happens. And it makes it hard to defend it, Leon. You're right. They put us at a crossroads where if it looks like we're defending it, then we look like we're okay with criminality in with our youth, and we're justifying it. So it puts us in a terrible disposition, man.
Right.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts us in a terrible disposition.
Well, yeah, I hope everything. Well, I know it ain't gonna go well for the guy, the father, but prayers out to him and his family for losing
all that community.
Yeah, the community too, but mostly for the family for losing the son and the father.
Yeah, that one's tough, man. That one's tough to weigh in on. I'm not gonna lie, but like I said, I'm not saying he should have killed him, but I do understand.
Yeah, I want to hear more about it, so I guess we'll hear more as
I'll wait for the other shooter. That's why I want to be careful weighing in on it. I mean, any loss of life is not good.
Right. Yeah.
It's not good, and there's no justification for eye for an eye in the eyes of the law.
Right.
Unless the law is doing it, right? You kill somebody, they electrocute you. When they're doing it, it's cool. But when you decide to, because the reason we have to try to understand, why did this father crash out? Is it because he knows his child and he knows what this being said in the media is not true, which is probably 100% correct, right? And he knows his child, and he knows that the story that's being displayed is probably not 100% accurate. Him still in the car, probably so. But do we know if that was a stolen car or if it was a friend car that he borrowed a girlfriend and he didn't want to return it, and he's ignoring her calls, and then she called the police and reported her car stolen. You see, you could have a situation like that where the father's like, he know the truth,
right?
But I'm gonna wait for the other shoe to drop on this one.
Yeah, it's tough. Moving on, let's go to. Was it Ibrahim? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Traore or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So this has been in the news. I don't know. Let me see. Let me find it. Let me find this right here. I know one thing he's trying to. It says right here, and he's an intern. Let's say he's an intern.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, could he have that much power to do the things he's doing as an intern?
Maybe remember that is a different government structure versus ours.
Right.
So when you hear intern, you would think that he doesn't have the political power. But then again, think about our infrastructure. If I was intern, acting director of said company, I would still have the privileges and the wherewithal to move the same way a director would, with oversight. There will be more oversight because I'm interim, right?
Right.
That's how our structure is here. We also understand that in our structure, in the government, you could have the deputy. Okay, so we're back now. In our community, he said, can you get on?
No, I sent it to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you replying to him. Yeah. In our structure, we can have someone within the government ranks or serving at the pleasure of the president, the deputy chief staff. He can be acting Secretary of State, which gives him the full grant of the powers of Secretary of State, although he is acting. That's our government structure. We don't really know their government structure. And with him being there, I mean, from what I understand, the brother's only been there 18 months and he's got a lot accomplished.
Yeah. Said he stopped the export of unrefined gold to Europe, aiming to retain more value within the country. Said that's one of the factors why the West is trying to eliminate him. And it's like I guess it's like what we keep repeating and what we keep saying is, once we start doing things, it's like they want to wipe us away.
It happens in the United States because they've killed all our leaders. We can go down the list that we were talking off, Mike. I can go down the whole list of all our leaders that was rising up and they, for whatever reason, were eliminated. We also know that Kwame Nkrumah, we had a lot of African leaders that had the same energy that Ibrahim Traore has, right? And they were taken off. Patrice Lumumba, Kwame, all these guys were taken out. And a lot of them were infiltrated by the West, and it used its own people to do the bidding. As a lot of people looking at this Ibrahim thing, and what I've learned, what I've seen with him, this guy had 19 assassination attempts.
I didn't see that doing the research. 19 assassination attempts.
Yeah, this
Larry's back.
Talking about
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim have had I think they like 19 assassination attempts on him.
Sound about right.
And there was an interview with one of his guardsmen. I'm gonna call him a guardsman, where he was offered, I think, $5 million to take him out, and that guy refused it. And he said that this guy's doing. He said, if I did it, or in so many words, that I'll have $5 million, but a lot of my people will suffer as this guy's doing great things for the country. And of course, he refused because that's how they're going to come in. So when we're telling our counterparts, like, they say that Africa is the most corrupt, Africa is poor, is this. If it's so poor, why are you there? French, America, China. If it's so poor, why are y'all there? Right? And it looks better to the West when it's a coup that takes out these African leaders. 100%. And how do you think these coups are staged? And how you think they're funded? And who do you think is causing all the upheaval? And it's definitely the West and some of the French and maybe some of the other countries. Because if they can overthrow a good leader, then it can go back to civil unrest. And while you're sitting there scrambling for grits and corn, they're extracting your gold or your natural resources.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing what over there.
Yeah, it also says he's wipes out all school fees in Burkina. Education is now 100% free.
Healthcare.
Yeah.
And he kicked the French out of there. Told them, y'all got to go.
Yeah. And he also
one of the most important things about that, man, is the fact that the neighboring countries are doing the same thing. Mali.
The neighboring country, Mali. They're all doing it. So it's a unification unlike we've ever seen. Like I said, when Patrice Lumumba in the Congo was doing it was just him. The other countries around him didn't, they just kind of steadfast, right? They kind of just stayed there. But with this guy, what I've noticed is, number one, like you said, there are other countries that are around Burkina Faso that are joining. And one thing I've seen that I have never seen is around the world, people are protesting and saying, keep your hand. This is our leader. Even though they're not a citizen of Burkina Faso, you have a lot of people that kind of sees what they're trying to do here. And so a lot of people are still standing in the gap for him. And I've never seen it like this before worldwide.
Yeah, it's dope. I like it. Yeah. And we need it because, to be honest with you, and it's something, and this is a little bit off topic, but still connected, is when you mentioned something about the Congo a minute ago, like there are a lot of people across the world who they can talk about, especially in America. We can talk about Christopher Columbus. You can talk about certain types of moments in history. But the one thing a lot of people, well, the one thing that was swept under the rug is King Leopold and what he did in the Congo. He damn near genocide of 20 to 21 Africans, Congolese over in the Congo. And it's a lot of people who don't know about their history, but it is such a pivotal moment.
You got it.
Yeah, I know, eventually.
Hey, you sounding like me.
I know, but it's just like stuff like that is the history you got to be careful of that they're trying to wipe out, And what they're trying to
wipe it out.
Right. That.
If they can wipe it out, they don't have to look in the mirror. One thing I know about the West, they don't like for you to hold the mirror up to them.
Oh yeah,
because you know why? They don't like the reflection that's in there. And when we went to war, and I say we, the United States, World War II, to fight fascism and the killing and the ethnicity and the genocide of the German people. They were, or the Jewish people, should I say, they it's estimated to be about 6.5 million.
Mm.
King Leopold killed 22 million people, right? And nobody came to the defense.
Nope.
Because you know why? Like today, like yesterday, Black lives do not matter.
Yeah, man, we talking about children, men, women, children, everybody.
Exactly.
He even had, and the people he didn't kill, he was maiming them, like chopping off hands and collecting hands.
He was chopping their hands off. So you had a lot of, oh my God, he was just egregious, man. Just
so what they're trying to do over there now in Africa, I'm 100% for it, man, because it needs to be protected. It needs to be for the people.
Needs to be for the people. A lot of them are standing up. South Africa has done the same. South Africa has starting to take back the lands that these so-called Afrikaners, which are these Dutch looking people, they're starting to take back their land. They're starting to take back their farms. And these Afrikaners are crying foul. You notice that, you remember Trump did an exact, like he's trying to get rid of he's getting rid of everybody that is all the colored people out of the country. But then he writes an executive order stating that it's a terrible thing that's happened in South Africa. And he granted asylum or through executive order for the Afrikaners to come to the United States, because he said, but you know why? It's because Peter Thiel and Elon Musk is from there, and they're in his ear. They're saying, hey, it's a bad thing that's happening. Our landmines or our gold mines that we use to get our riches is probably gonna be.
Elon Musk, is South Africa that way from there?
Yeah, South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. We all back now.
Yeah.
But they say he's cleared. Let me say cleared Burkina's external debt of 4.7 billion. So how's he doing stuff like this?
How does he?
He's been in since September 22. Yeah.
The resources.
They're taking back their resources, because the way it was set up was like, and this happened between a bunch of countries over there, is that you have the French or one of these European countries come over there and start mining their resources, and they would pay people, let's say, pay them like 80 cents or whatever per whatever weight wise, kilo wise or whatever. And then they would take those resources, take them back to Europe, or sell it globally like 200 pounds or whatever globally, but you're only paying the people a fraction of what you're selling it for. And so you're just running them in the ground and just taking all the resources. That's what's been happening in Africa the entire time.
Right. And so when you cut out the middleman, you kick him out, and you still remember you're doing the mining, so you know how to do it. And you can still bring it to the market. So instead of you getting pennies on a dollar, you're getting thousands of dollars on a dollar. So you can clear out your debt with those resources in little or no time.
Yeah. And then those countries can trade with each other, man, because the issue was, and they're finally catching on heavily when they're saying, yo, no country has ever stood itself up on the back of aid coming in from another country. You can only build your country up through trade. You can't do it by another country giving you aid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you become indebted to that country. And I was worried about this as far as, because China started digging into Africa heavily back in like,
I was just about to ask y'all that.
Yeah, like last couple decades. They was heavy in building infrastructure.
I think I seen where Akon said it was good. I don't know what part of Africa, where it was at.
Akon, his money to build his city, but that ain't never happened. Yeah, that ain't never happened. Of course.
I think what they're doing over there is good, and you got to understand, them kicking these European countries out is a good thing. You know what I'm curious about, and I don't see much about it. how the Ethiopians are doing when it comes to their leadership, their country. I don't know much of the only thing I do know about Ethiopians when we talk about resistance. Ethiopia is one of the only countries that's never been colonized. And it wasn't for a lack of trying. You know, Leon, and you do a quick Google search and Google Ethiopian Italian War, 1935. They came in there. So 1935, about 1940, they got their ass kicked and they were up out of there, right? Because they were trying to colonize them. Ethiopians band together, and you'll see the Ethiopian-Italian War. And they tried to colonize them. So Ethiopia is one of the only African out of the, I think, the 54 countries, the only one that's never been colonized. But you don't hear much about it because they're going to bury it, because that's a sovereign nation, and they were able to fight off the Europeans, right? What year was that, Leon?
You said 1935
or 1940, one of them.
It says Ethiopian War 1935.
Okay.
Yeah. You do a lot of reading, man.
Hey, that's where it got to be at, bro. You got to.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. I do a little bit of reading, but I do more listening. Like I'm throwing a shot over the bow to you, Leon.
Say what?
That's a shot across the bow to you.
Yeah.
I do more listening than I do reading.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me.
Hey, there's power in the knowledge, man. Power in the knowledge.
That's one thing that that the Europeans cannot extract. However, they were able to extract it, but that'll go into another different phase. We'll have that conversation in Northern Africa about Socrates, Plato, all these guys. They studied under the Moors, and they got the Pythagorean theory, Pythagorean, and all that stuff. You watch their writings and their writings, how they studied for 12 years in the northeast coast of northeast Africa, and that's where they got all their theories. That's where they got their study from. You know, when when there's Zacharias and all those guys, Plato and Pythagorean and all these guys, they got it from us, brother. That's a whole nother thing. You'd have to, you know.
Yeah, you got deep dive. Deep dive. Yeah. They get back now, to timid.
Larry, you recently got into some conversations on IG with tell us about that with the it was I don't know, it was something on TV with what's this guy name? Van Jones? Van Jones, when he's going around talking to.
It was basically, he brought in 3 black Trump supporters, and he was talking about how the perception of, the common Trump supporter looks like white guy, red hat with a pickup truck. But he brought in 3 black Trump supporters who look completely like different. Like one was black guy, Afro, clean cut, looked like he was, middle class. Actually, all 3 of them looked middle class. And there was 2 black women also looked more middle class as well, too. Middle class to upper class, college educated, things like that. But he was asking them, what Van was asking them were, why did you vote for Trump? And the majority of them were just saying things based off of emotion and feeling. Like the guy said, I voted for Trump because, he's an asshole and he's authentic, which immediately should have been a red flag.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It should have been a red flag.
I was like, huh?
But the thing that got me was, and Van pushed back and he challenged them. He was like, so what about this, that, and the third? For instance, what about Trump trying to, roll back some of the civil rights movements? And
that guy said,
and dodging our kind of hiding Black history as far as targeting the museums. And this black guy really, really said,
he
I don't really care about that. Yeah, he said, I don't care.
Larry, that was the most disturbing thing for me to hear.
Man,
because that's why we can't get 100% buy-in from our community, because we got those we got those people. And out of that whole interview, that unnerved me the most. He was like, I don't care. He's like, I'm just trying to raise my child or some stuff like that. And I'm I was like, that's how they think. So that's why when me and Larry and different people are arguing with them or trying to educate them on, no, brother, you're wrong, it's because of this, this, and this. And what I realized in that interview, they don't care.
Yeah.
And you know who else don't care? Who they align with? Trump supporters.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care about those things.
Because my thing was, when you have black people like that who vote against your own interests, they vote against their own interests. It's to me personally, it comes off as they're disconnected from the village.
Very disconnected.
It's an isolated thing. It's, oh, what can I get out of it? Like I want this, I want that, and you don't see it as a whole. And I think that's where we suffer, because there's no, the unity is broken. So everybody's just like, oh, I'm gonna get what I can get. Damn everybody else in the community.
And here's where it gets real into the dark weeds. Those black people are disconnected from their culture and their community, and they don't care what happens to it, right? So they align themselves with Trump supporters who actually don't care about that crap either, right?
Oh,
now here's the dark part. So they align with them. When you talk to that same Trump supporter about, black institutions and all this stuff, they're like, well, I don't care because that. But you know what they do care about, and our black comrades don't see this? When you bring up, all right, what about dismembering the Confederate statues and get rid of them? It was like, oh no, that's our heritage. We got it. See, they don't disconnect from theirs.
Yeah. 100%.
But we disconnect from ours.
Yep. And then you know what else? They know both. They know their history and they know ours.
And you know what? I told my son that. I tell a lot of black people that. I was like, you better learn your history because you're going to learn it from them. And the way they teach it to you is not going to be the palatable way. You're not going to like it. And it's Cat Williams said something in his interview with Willie D. It was very instrumental. And he said, very important. He said something about white supremacy. He was like, white supremacists, they know the lie that they told, because he was like, man, why are they so worried about us? And he was like, they worried about us because they know about us. And also he said the liar does not forget about the lie he told. And so while he's telling us a lie, saying, hey, listen, this is not great, this is not that, but his eyes are still looking at what's true. He's looking over there because he don't want you to come over there and see, because he knows the lie he told. He just looking at you. He focused on you. Like he said, well, why are they so worried about us? He said, because the liar knows the lie that he told. And if he can keep you focused on the lie, he has one eye on you, watching you. That's why they're always watching us, because he know the lie he told. Because if you cross over and see the truth, then you're going to look at him and he lose all credibility.
Yeah,
that must have been a recent interview. It seemed like I just saw
this was last year. If you Google Willie D interview with him, it was last year, right after he did the Shannon Sharp interview.
So did you send that to me or something? I just seen that about, I don't know.
You see the clips resurfacing.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't send it to you, but if you look at that segment, Cat Williams was spot on. Said the liar knows the lie he told. Because he was like, why he be worried about us? Because he knows the lie he told. Mm-hmm. He's just looking at you and he's monitoring you so that you don't figure out the truth. Oh shit, they figured out the truth. They are woke now. You know what? We got to attack woke. We got to attack woke. We got to bring them back over here to the lie. We got to bring them back to the lie.
One thing, like I made the comment that I was talking about, these individuals being disconnected from the village. I made that comment in there. And of course, comments started blowing up because this is on CNN's page. So it gets a lot of exposure and a lot of attention. So I have a lot of white people in the comments coming at me saying that there's no boogeyman, there's no target on your back.
I hear that, yeah.
Racism don't exist. Or you get the reverse psychology where it's like you've been brainwashed and now you're the one that's racist. So you got to be careful about stuff like that, bro.
That's because he knows the lie he told.
Yo, it is real. It is real.
And so he tells you there's no boogeyman. There is no, I've heard that in my, listen, I've used to do those things where you are, I got tired of it because now I want to put hands on people, right? Because it's so stupid. And you got to remember, white supremacy and all of its people that are adjacent to it, they know the lie that's been told. So they got to tell you there's no boogeyman, which I've always heard. There's like no boogeyman, or the one that, hey man, there's no white man personally assigned to you to hold you back.
Mm, mm.
And I'm not saying that, but they're saying that and to create another false narrative to get me to chase that light. And now while I'm chasing that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't.
The majority is, and I'll be honest, like, and I said this before on one of the episodes, is that the Black community has to realize very quickly, like, who its allies and who its enemies are. Because we do have white allies and we do have Black enemies in the Black community, you know.
Absolutely.
But that's difficult to determine. It's difficult at times because you don't know who's with you and who's against you. But when it comes to things like this, as far as us as a community, we really have to figure out real fast the people who look like us that are not for us, because those are the ones that are going to disrupt the entire movement. And it's always been that way. It's always been an inside job at some point. And that's the problem.
Listen, that has been the problem from the dawn of time. And it's been the problem even when our family were enslaved on these plantations. And you've heard me say this before, Nat Turner being my hero. And Nat Turner had a phrase for them. We should kill those N-words first.
Yeah, hey.
When his lieutenants and all them was coming back, say, hey, what about the house Negro? He knows our plan. What if he tell master and then corrupt? He was like, you know what? We should kill those Negroes first.
Yeah. And those are not the thoughts of the Impel Fort podcast.
It's not, but it's reality.
We love people. We love people over here.
Yeah, we sure do.
We sure do.
And when I say kill, I don't mean it metaphor. I don't mean it literally. I mean it metaphorically.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, is there anything else that we missed?
You know, I was talking with Renee the other day. Something we bring to the table. You know, if we're going to discuss what's the differences between Black power and Black excellence, and where has it affected us as a community. So I think that's something we need to probably dive into on an upcoming episode.
You said, what is the difference between Black power and Black excellence?
Or is there a difference?
How have we perceived that, you know, how have we gone from Black power to Black excellence, and how has it affected us as a community? Yeah.
It depends. Right. All right. I think it definitely has a way we need to talk about, especially.
No answer yet.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to dive into it, but it's definitely something that we should talk about and that we need to get into. But I think that a lot of the things that we discuss here are definitely for what's in the news today, so that we stay relevant with our information and our talking points. But it's okay for us to dive into substantive issues that plague our community that we need to talk about and address in the midst of dealing with current events. And I think something like that is definitely something that we should definitely dive into and try to deconstruct it. And is there a difference in it? You know, has it hurt us? Has it helped us?
Pros and cons. Pros
and cons to it. So definitely one of the topics that we probably should put in our conversation in the weeks leading.
Yeah.
I just want to see us just figure out what we can do, not only as Blacks, just us, period. In our circle.
You say us, what you mean?
In our circle.
Oh.
Yeah. What can we do? What can we strategize? What can we put together?
Sometimes Leon, it's just the power of one, right? And what I mean by the power of one, how can we make our Black community better today?
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it starts with the power of one. And the power of one is Larry and Leon. Leon has two beautiful Black queens that he's about to send out here into this world. And our job, day one, is to produce a better product than ourselves and put out there into the Black community. Right?
I agree. Yeah.
And so how we begin to heal the Black community is by putting out a better product. That's all our task. And that's our first task. You know what I mean? because we never know which one of those two queens is going to end up running for state legislator or one end up being a professor college teaching Africana studies. We don't know that. But if you put the good things in them for us, by us, our community, what they should be focused on, because they're gonna be talking in the today's generational voice that we cannot talk in. And they'll end up being more impactful. So we know that they'll be more impactful. So what we have to do is put good stuff in them, right? Don't sell yourself short. Don't ever, don't respect all men, but don't over respect no man, right? And you start putting these principles in our kids and our nieces and our nephews, and then we'll start to turn. If Larry does it and you do it and I do it, we essentially are doing our job to help the Black community.
Yeah. That was a good answer, but I want to get active. I really be thinking about what I really want to do. And
getting active. Remember, Leon. This is what I said earlier. When Kwame Nkrumah was killed or Patrice Lumumba was killed, the movement died. When Medgar Evers was killed, the movement died. You know why? Because we did not practice multiplicity in ourselves. So you can get active, but if you activate your two daughters and your wife, that's more. So when you get ill or get sick and can't continue to fight, they already taken up you know what I'm saying? You lit their torch. So the problem that we have in the Black community is we'll have one that rise and there's nobody coming up behind them. So when that one's taken out or what I shouldn't say taken out, then we end up with a situation where now the movement and the moment is gone. So the problem with getting active, you're gonna have to bring some folks with you. And
that's why I'm starting. This is why I'm starting with Larry and KP.
I'm ready.
Listen, man, you're speaking in Gen X words, getting active. Listen, man, we can F around and find out. Get active.
Yeah. All right. Buddy. Well, there you have it for another episode of the MPL4 podcast. And remember, seize the opportunity to grasp your dreams.